Doing lesson 1-2A, which is exponents and order of operations. Order of operations is PEMDAS, if you've heard PEMDAS before. And if you haven't heard PEMDAS before, that's okay. I'm going to tell you all about it today. I need new pens. These pens are not serving me well right now. So exponents and order of operations. Sorry for the messy penmanship. So first thing we're going to talk about is some exponent stuff. Does anyone know what an exponent is? Yeah. There you go. Squared, cubed, that type of thing. Is it Katie? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So exponents are those like smaller numbers that get written higher on a number, right? That's an exponent. So we're just going to lay this out. This is an exponent. Does anyone know what this part of it is called, that bigger number? It starts with a B. It's your base, okay? So you have your base and you have your exponent. That whole thing put together is called a power. Okay? So basically how it works is the exponent tells us how many times we're going to multiply the base by itself, right? So this is 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed, is basically saying you're doing 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, that's 2 to the third power. And that's one way we can say it, 2 to the third power, or we can say it 2 cubed, okay? 5 to the second power, for instance. What's another way you could say that? 5 squared, okay? So 5 to the second power or 5 squared, same thing. How many times are we multiplying 5 by itself? Twice. 5 times 5, okay? So 25. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just do a little bit of simplifying with exponents. So first example, and you do not have to take notes exactly like I take notes. Whatever makes the most sense to you, please take your notes that way. I have a process to mine that you're going to see they look very similar every day. But if that's not what works best for you, write it your way, okay? All right, so first example, all of these we are just going to simplify. Basically meaning make it the simplest form that you can, okay? So for instance, this first one, if I say 10 to the 5th power, can anyone tell me what that is? You're on the right track, but it's times 10, right? 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So you're multiplying 10 by itself 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In other words, we will get, does anyone know what 10 to the 5th power is simplified? How many zeros? 5 zeros, right? So it's 100,000. That's the beauty of the number 10. If you take a 10 to a power, whatever that power is, that's how many zeros you're going to get out of it, right? Unfortunately, that doesn't work with all the other numbers, but that's okay. All right, so second one, what if I gave you 3 to the 3rd power? You are doing 3 times 3 times 3. Anyone know what 3 to the 3rd power is? 27. Good. Okay, 3 times 3 times 3. All right, this one's a little bit fancier, but it's the same process. What if I have a fraction taken to a power? So if I put this in parentheses, it's 2/3 to the 3rd power, okay? What'd you say? Right, so basically what you're doing is 2 times 2 times 2 on top and 3 times 3 times 3 on the bottom, okay? What is 2 cubed? 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, okay? So that's 8 on top. What's 3 times 3 times 3? You just found it up here, right? 27. So that would be 8/27 for your answer. Any questions on exponents and how they work? Okay, on your calculator, there's a button. Most of you, it probably looks like that. It's a little caret. That's how you put in an exponent. Some of you, it might look like this. It's y to the x. Yeah, if you want to get it out and just check yours. Can I just see what calculators you all have? Most of you have this one, the TI-30XXS.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. This is for sure the easiest. That one's good too. Okay, so on this one, it's the caret. Can you see right here, that little up and down like arrow looking button? That's what you'll do. So if it's 5 to the third power, you'll hit 5, that button 3. Okay? All right. Okay, now we get into the fun stuff. At least I think it's the fun stuff. How would you simplify 2 plus 3 times 5? Work that out in your head or on paper. Work that out, and I want to see what you're getting as an answer. 2 plus 3 times 5. My guess is you'll get one of two answers, and one of them is right, and one of them is wrong. Two plus 3 times 5. All right, how many of you got 17? How many of you got 25? How many of you got something else? How many of you just aren't going to give me an answer because you're bashful? That's, yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. 2 plus 3 times 5, right? If you've learned order of operations before, which every one of you in here should have learned at some point in time, PEMDAS says, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS says that you have to do what before you do what? You have to multiply before you add in this, right? So you're going to multiply this first. That's 15. And 15 plus 2 is, oops, I did 7 instead of 2, is 17. Okay, so that should be a 17. So if you got the 25, it means you just went in the order that was given, and you can't just go in that order, okay? So we're going to talk order of operations, or PEMDAS, if you will, and just make sure everyone is clear on this. And I feel like the biggest area of mistake that I see is here and here, okay? When you're doing order of operations, the P stands for what? Parentheses. Okay, what's the E? Exponent. Okay, now here's where people start to make the mistake. M is multiply or multiplication. We're just going to do multiply for the sake of length. D is divide. Okay, where you have to be careful is these two go at the same time. So if there's division before multiplication, you do the division first, even though division technically comes after multiplication in the lettering, okay? These are always, and you'll hear me say this a million times over, you always work left to right when you're doing the multiply and divide, okay? Then you have A is add, S is subtract, and the same thing applies, left to right with those two. Okay? So the way often people remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally if you have trouble remembering what all the letters are. Anyone have a different one they use? No? Oh, That's a first. I usually have somebody that's like, no, I use this acronym instead. Okay, well, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally if you need help remembering it. All right. We are going to give that a go. By the way, I like color, so I change colors all the time when I'm teaching a lesson. But I know there are people that are colorblind, or there are people that have an aversion to certain colors. If any of you have any sort of aversion, like last year I had a girl that couldn't do red. Like it was a just bad color for her. She couldn't see it well. I had another kid that was colorblind, so I'd flip between red and green and he wouldn't see that I was trying to distinguish something. If you have any of that going on, will you please just tell me sometime after class so that I can try to make sure I'm aware and not use the colors that bother. Okay, we are going to simplify. Starting with this one. Let's say we have parentheses 9 minus 3 squared divided by 4. Okay. If this is our setup, what is our first step? The what? Before the exponent. The parentheses, right? So your very first thing you're going to do is here. Whatever's in the parentheses, you're going to do that. Now, people often go, but that's subtraction, and subtraction comes later. Yes, but the subtraction is in parentheses. Whatever's in parentheses goes first, okay? So 9 minus 3 is 6. I'm going to make you guys do a lot of mental math today. Okay, so here's my new equation. 6 squared divided by 4. What do? The exponent. Okay, so my 6 squared would be my next step. Anyone know what 6 squared is? That's 36. Okay, so now we have 36 divided by 4 with only one step to go. So you divide. What's 36 divided by 4? It's 9. Okay, so your answer should be 9. Now, here's the deal with these guys. I would love to give you partial credit on quizzes and tests if you get things wrong, but show me how you did it and something about it was right. So when I give you a problem like this on a quiz or a test and all you write is 9, but then 9's the wrong answer, I have to take all the points away. However, if you show me these steps and all you did wrong was one of the 4 steps, I only take one of the 4 points away, okay? So get really used to showing me everything you do. It's very helpful, okay? All right, how about this one? 2 to the 5th power plus 11 plus 14 divided by 5. What do you do first? The parentheses, right? And in parentheses right now is addition, so we're going to add these two first. So it's going to be 2 to the 5th plus, now your parentheses are going to go away, right? Because you did what's in the parentheses. So you don't need parentheses anymore. Okay, looks like that. What do you do next? Exponent. So you're going to take 2 to the 5th power. Anyone know what 2 to the 5th power is? 32. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? Or you plug it into your calculator, 2 caret 5, okay? So 32 plus 25 divided by 5. What do you do next? You're going to divide next, right? We don't want to add before we divide. So it's going to be 32. What's 25 divided by 5? 5. Okay. So your final answer is 37. Okay. And then make sure you circle your final answer, because a lot of times people will work kind of all over the page and the number will be somewhere random. I need to know what your final answer is. So just circle it, put a box around it, something that tells me this is what I was saying. All right. Next one. What do we do first? 2 squared plus 3 squared divided by 2. What's your first step? The parentheses, okay? Now, what's in the parentheses also has parts, right? There's exponents there and there's addition there. What do you do first? You got to do the exponents first. So you can't do 2 plus 3 and then say 5 squared, right? That's going to be different. You have to square the 2, so that's 4. Then square the 3, which is 9, divided by 2. What do you do next? The parentheses, you add them together. So it's going to be 13 divided by 2. And what is 13 divided by 2? .5. Okay, or you can call it 6.5. Technically 13 over 2, same thing. Any questions on that? Okay. I'm gonna just make one up right now, so bear with me a second because I want to make sure we do this so that it doesn't get overlooked. Let's say we have okay, we're going to keep it very simple here. If this is your setup, what do you do first? You subtract, right? This is the whole left to right thing. So your addition and subtraction, if you come back up here, your multiplication and division go left to right, and your addition and subtraction go left to right. So if all we have is addition and subtraction, you're going to work left to right. So you're going to go in the order it was given and do this one first, okay? Same if there's multiplication and division. You're going to multiply or divide based on whatever came first, okay? So this one, subtraction came first. You do the subtraction first. What I often see done here, well, let's just work this out. 8 minus 11 is -3 plus 6, right? -3 plus 6 is 3, okay? What I often see people do here is they'll look at this and they're going to ignore that minus sign there and say that 11 plus 6 is 17, and 8 minus 17 is -9. That's a very different answer, right? So just be really careful that you just go in the order that you see it in, okay? If it's addition and subtraction or if it's multiplication, division. Good? Okay, last thing to note, sometimes you're gonna see this type of situation. We'll call this E. You have 3 squared divided by 3 over 9, okay? What I need you to be aware of is that a division bar like this acts like parentheses. Okay, so in other words, what that division bar is doing is basically putting parentheses around your top and your bottom. So you'll always do whatever's on top, simplify that, whatever's on bottom, simplify that, and then you can divide them. Okay, so just be really careful with the division bar. So what would you do first in this problem? You're going to simplify your parentheses. What in your parentheses? The exponent first. So it's going to be 9 divided by 3 over 9. What do you do next? Divide where? 9 divided by 3, right? Because there's 2 divisions going on here, but that division bar, this bar here, is acting like you're separating your problems, okay? So 9 divided by 3 is 3. Then you have a 9 on bottom. What should you do with that? You need to simplify. You need to reduce the fraction. So 3 over 9 is 1 over 3, and that would be your answer. Okay? Questions on that? All right. You have like 8 minutes till the bell rings. I would take advantage of